I'm Michael Langemeier, Professor and Associate Director in the Center for Commercial Agriculture at Purdue University. Today I'd like to talk about net return prospects for corn and soybeans, as well as some break-even price information related to corn and soybeans. Let's start by looking at net farm income per acre for a corn-soybean rotation for a corn-soybean farm. And one of the things you see from this chart is net farm income per acre in 2021, this is a projection of course, is projected to be the highest since 2012. And so 2021 looks like it's going to be a really good year. When we're looking at net farm income, it's very important to keep in mind that net farm income is computed using gross revenue, subtracting cash expenses and depreciation, but we're not subtracting opportunity costs on operator labor, machinery, or land in this computation. So you want that net farm income to be positive on a per acre basis because net farm income has to cover operator labor and opportunity costs on land and machinery. So 2021 looks like it's going to be a pretty good year. Why is that important? Well, obviously, one of the things we want to do is try to protect those margins as much as possible. And so coming up with a marketing plan and carefully thinking through our crop insurance choices is very important in 2021. Another thing that's very important to look at when we're looking at corn and soybean prospects is the fact that break-even prices for corn and soybeans have declined quite a bit since 2015. As this chart indicates, for 14, 15, and 16, the break-even price for corn on this case farm was over $4.50 per bushel. In 2021, the break-even price is slightly under $4 per bushel, and so that's another reason why 2021 looks so strong compared to some recent years. It's a combination of relatively strong projected prices, but also lower break-even prices than what we saw a few years ago. The same is true for soybeans. In 2015, we had a break-even price that was right at $12. Now, that was a low yield year for this case farm, but nevertheless, a break-even price of about $12. The break-even price in 2021 is now right around $9.75, and so you combine that $9.75 with a projected price around $11.50 for this fall, and there's a possibility of very strong earnings. Looking at the relationship between corn and soybeans, now this chart is for the case farm in west central Indiana, so it represents the eastern corn belt. We can see from about 2007 to 2012, 2013, corn was more profitable than soybeans. We saw large acreages in the United States of corn during those years, particularly 2007, as ethanol really started to ramp up. From about 2013, 2014, all the way through 2018, soybeans were more profitable on this farm and in the eastern corn belt. 2018, slight advantage towards corn. Let's look at 2021. There's a slight advantage towards soybeans. Looking at the crop budgets for 2021, that may surprise a few people, but that's the way it currently looks. For 2021. To create this chart, I used soybean prices of approximately $11.50 for the fall of 2021 and corn prices of approximately $4.30. Obviously, if those prices change, the relative advantage of corn and soybeans is going to change. Let's take a little closer look at this relative advantage, and what I've got here is a fairly complicated table, but I've tried to incorporate relative yields, relative costs, and try to figure out what does the corn price need to be? What's the minimum corn price would need to be for continuous corn to compete with rotation soybeans? So we're comparing continuous corn to rotation soybeans. And so as this chart indicates in green, if we had a soybean price of $11.50 on high productivity soil in Indiana, corn price would need to be above $4.78. That's quite a bit higher than recent projections related to corn prices for the fall of 2021. And so it looks like continuous corn does not outcompete rotation soybeans, at least in the eastern corn belt. Now I realize as you move to the western corn belt, continuous corn may be more competitive than what I'm showing in this chart, but at least for the eastern corn belt, continuous corn is not that competitive compared to rotation soybeans. Now I'd like to look at second year soybeans versus rotation corn. in Indiana at least, and Ohio, we've seen more soybean acres than corn acres for 3 or 4 years in a row now. It hasn't been that different in Indiana, but nevertheless, we've had more soybean acres than corn. And so let's take a look at this for 2021. Again, if we had a soybean price of $11.50, that's approximately what the price projections have been for the fall of 2021. We can see on high productivity soil that we need a rotation corn price above $4.41. Now that's a little higher than the $4.30 that we've seen recently, but that's probably close enough that you would stick with the rotation. There's always advantage of rotating versus producing a crop continuously, and so in this case I would say rotation corn competes fairly well with second year soybeans. And so as we get closer to planting season, I encourage you to develop similar slides to these last 2 or 3 that I've presented, and just see how does continuous corn compete with rotation soybeans, and how does second year soybeans compete with rotation corn.